Well, Africa finally got its very first win of the 2025 FIFA Club World Cup. Mamelodi Sundowns defeating the Korean side Ulsan 1-0 in Orlando. I was there, and right now I'm actually at the airport in Orlando. We're going to fly back to Philadelphia for Wydad versus Manchester City. It's currently 12:30 in the morning. My flight is in 5 hours. I don't think I'm going to be sleeping because I have to record this. I have to record a preview of Wydad Casablanca at the Club World Cup, and then finally going to get down to editing those vlogs that we've been recording for this. What a day, honestly. I woke up, I had an early flight in the morning. I think it was a 6:20 flight. Got to Orlando at 9 a.m. And immediately what we decided to do was go to the team hotel, the Mamelodi Sundowns team hotel on the outskirts of Orlando, straight from the airport. This is something that we do in African football journalism. Like sometimes I think when it comes to top European clubs or top national teams, they're very protective about access. And so sometimes you can't even access, a hotel. Maybe the club or the team will rent out the entire thing. But if you ever go to an African Cup of Nations, if you're an African football journalist and you're watching this, like one of the best things you could do is sometimes camp out at a team hotel. Maybe look for somebody that shake a hand or two, and just they end up putting faces to names, and it's really good for sort of developing your network and your contacts on the African continent. So we thought it would be, had some time to kill. We thought it would be a good thing to do. I head out there, and I saw Gulen Valodia, who is obviously one of the more celebrated, one of the more successful video analysts in African football. He's been at Mamelodi Sundowns since time immemorial. I don't know, since I think it's been 15 years, something like that. So we recognized each other. I greeted him, he greeted me, and we just had a good talk about really video analysis, just like what his job entails, how he got into it. We talked about, the size of Mamelodi Sundowns staff and how much resources the club puts into, support staff and how that sort of separates them compared to other clubs. Went into a little bit of details about like what's the difference between a video analyst and a scout, and what sort of skills does each job necessitate as well. It was just a really nice, honest, open chat that I think took place for more than an hour. When that's like some of the best moments in football is when you meet somebody that's just, you don't want anything from them. They don't want anything from you. This wasn't an interview. I didn't record it, obviously. It was just a chance to chat. When it was like, there's nothing worse than speaking to somebody that doesn't know what they're talking about in football, and they don't know what they're talking about, and they just want to talk to you about football, and you just shut it down. You give them one word responses because there's no point of wasting your time. But when somebody knows football and you think you know football, at least I think I do a little bit, and it's just a good, productive conversation, and you ask about certain things, and they ask about certain things, and I don't want anything from him. He didn't want anything from me as well, obviously. And it was just a really nice, pure, informative conversation. I really, really enjoyed it. So hat tip to Gulen Valodia. I think one of the good people in African football. And speaking of good people in African football, we also got the chance to meet Steve Kompella, who in my opinion is the best personality in African football. I mean, the amount of quotes this guy has is just on another level. Really, yeah, I get one of the best personalities. I don't think there's nobody that doesn't like Steve Kompella, right? So yeah, he was just, as always, like a beacon of sunshine, cracking jokes, firm handshakes. And yeah, I really treasured meeting him as well. So that was cool. Like we just killed maybe an hour and a half at the hotel, saw some of the players, saw the chairman really quickly, just shook everybody's hands, did a radio hit with Andile on Radio Metro, Sport Metro. So yeah, it was just really, really enjoyable time. Went to the city center, got some food, and then went to the stadium. Um, Now this afternoon, before we talk about the match itself, I kind of went viral because we got to the stadium an hour before kickoff, and as I walked, into the stands, I look around and there's practically nobody in the stadium. And it got to the point where I figured, you know what, I could actually count how many people are in the stadium. And I went and I manually counted, like off the top of my head. Obviously, it wasn't exact. It's an approximation, but I counted 97. And it didn't take me very long. It took me maybe a minute and a half, something like that. And I did it in good faith. I really wanted to know how many people were in the stands. And I tweeted it. And as soon as I tweeted it, the tweet blew up. Everybody that had a problem with FIFA and a problem with the Club World Cup, they retweeted it. Anybody that had or wanted to throw a jab at Mamelodi Sundowns as well, they also retweeted it. And for me, like, the blame doesn't really lie one or the other. I think with FIFA, yes, maybe find a way, like you do dynamic pricing, maybe do dynamic hosting, like when you have Ulsan versus Sundowns, I don't know, maybe find a way to play that match in a place where there's a big diaspora for either one of those teams. Uh, Maybe not at 6 p.m., the pricing of the tickets was not cheap as well. I don't understand why not just put like a flat rate of like $10 a ticket and get everybody in a stadium and then make your money on concessions, for example. So yeah, the problem is it was like a bastion of negativity on Twitter. Um, and I don't think we could also talk about the American public. I mean, to be fair, it's midweek. Again, it's 6 p.m. kickoff. It was very hot and humid the whole entire afternoon. So I don't blame people for not showing up early, especially for maybe teams they're not familiar with. But I do wonder, if this match was in the UK, if this match was maybe in the Middle East, I'm thinking there might have been more fans than there were here in the US. Anyways, the last thing before we start sort of analyzing the match is that I also took a moment before kickoff to just look around and realize like this is the first time I watched Mamelodi Sundowns in the flesh, and that was really cool and really rewarding too. It's a club that I think I've watched. I must have watched more than 150 Mamelodi Sundowns matches in my life, and now I got to see them in the flesh. That was really cool too. So I just take a moment to appreciate that and sort of made the trip worth it, because initially I wasn't going to come to Orlando to cover Sundowns because I was just going to stick between Philadelphia and New Jersey instead of flying all the way down here, pulling these all-nighters, flying all the way back. But just having those conversations at the hotel with, Gulam, um, yeah, seeing the city, meeting some Sundowns supporters as well, and then seeing Sundowns on the flesh, all of that made it worth it. But enough of the preamble. Let's break down the actual match. Um, First of all, Miguel Cardozo lines up with a 4-2-3-1, and this is a little bit of a attacking lineup, I would say. Um, the only real surprise for me was Cupido as a center half instead of Labusa or Mbala. And then he goes with the double pivot of Allende and Tabo Mokwena. Salas on the left, Temba Zwane as sort of number 10, and Lucas Ribeiro on the right wing. So not a huge surprise, but them moving away from the 4-3-3 going to a 4-2-3-1 makes me think that they knew that they were going to have the lion's share of possession of the football today, and that maybe this is how they felt like they could dictate the game, not let Ulsan use their pace and be very use the transitional phases of the match all the time. Try to control the ball as much as possible, especially in this heat with this humidity. Control the tempo of the match. So I didn't mind the lineup at all. I thought it was a decent lineup. But it told me that Sundowns are expecting to have the ball. As soon as we're about to kick off, there's a weather delay. I didn't see any lightning, but from what I understand, in Florida, where this match was being played, you know, weather can be very unpredictable and very severe. And I guess what happened was lightning was detected within 10 miles of the stadium. And as a result, they didn't want to risk it, basically. So I think they have to wait until there's no lightning for 15 minutes within 10 miles of the stadium. And that took about an hour. And I always wonder, like, what's the effect on players when you're just sitting in the locker room for an hour? I mean, I know they're not just sitting statically. I'm sure they're warming up in the locker room. I'm sure they're discussing final points and details, making sure they're mentally and physically engaged. But still, I do wonder what kind of toll that takes. It's not, I don't think, a simple thing to navigate. But of course, they do come out and warm up after. But I do wonder again, like, instead of uh, a focused window of 2 hours, it's pushed to 3 hours, and that's not, again, easy. Um, Now, the match kicks off after 1 hour of delay. And unlike Esperance de Tunis, when they played against Flamengo, immediately within the first 2-3 minutes of the match, you could tell Flamengo were going to have the ball. Here was the opposite. Mamelodi Sundowns start with the ball. And within the first 2-3 minutes, you could tell not only are they going to have a lot of the ball, but they mean business. They had two clear opportunities within the first 3 minutes. The first one, and the main one, is from an Arthur Salas shot. He gets slipped in, shoots across the face of the wall. I think it's going in, but the Ulsan defender makes a final last-minute sort of slide tackle. Sundowns players appealed that it went off his arm, but it really his arm was stuck to his body. So the appeal fell by the wayside. Ulsan counterattacks in the 4th minute. So really in the first 4 minutes, we have 3 pretty good goal scoring opportunities. Makes me think that this is going to be a back and forth the 4th match, but that wasn't necessarily the case after. But anytime that Ulsan were threatening Sundowns, it was usually transitional phases, or it would be they have like a very fast right winger. Um, Very fast wingers in general, but the right winger was extremely fast. Sometimes he blew Lunga out of the dust, who had actually a good game, because Lunga would stick with them, and he'd usually make a last-minute slide tackle, saving the sort of situation. But the winger, what they would do a good job of is sort of getting behind the fullback, springing those wingers through. And then to be honest, I thought a lot of the times they made bad decisions or the end product was poor, but that's how Ulsan were sort of hurting Sundowns whenever they did, which wasn't often. Uh, Yeah, and prior, in the preview, we said, Sundowns, this is the Club World Cup now. This is not the CAF Champions League. This is not the PSL. Maybe they're not going to have to deal with teams just sitting back in low blocks, and absorbing pressure. Maybe they're going to have a team that's going to go at them, and as a result, it's going to be easier for them to score goals and create goal scoring opportunities. But in the end, even Ulsan, I'm not saying it was an incredibly low block or anything like that, but they were absolutely willing to forfeit possession to Mamelodi Sundowns. They didn't want to have that battle with Mamelodi Sundowns about who can monopolize possession, and then if they do engage in that battle, leave spaces behind them. Um, so yeah, in the 21st minute, I'm typing my notes. I put there are large lulls in this match where Sundowns are almost at a pedestrian pace. Kakana's on the ball, Cupido's on the ball, Mokwena's on the ball, Allende's on the ball, and you'll have Salas or Ribeiro or Zwane find little pockets of space between the midfield line and the defending line. But then, I just found them to be a little bit static at times. Nobody's making a run in behind defenders. They'll just show to the ball and then they would stay a little bit static. And the one time they would actually move is once the entry pass is made. So let's say Ribeiro finds a little bit of pocket of space. Once the entry pass is made, maybe he'll play a one touch to Salas or to Zwane. And as soon as he plays that one touch, then he'll peel off and start moving. But other than that, I thought it was a little bit sluggish early on. After that frantic first 5 minutes. And I even wrote, is this because of the humidity? Because it was very, very humid. I think it was 34, 35 degrees Celsius, and the humidity levels, I didn't check, but it must have been in the 80s or something like that. We in the stands were not doing anything, and we were sweating. Um, Slowly but surely, after the 25th minute, Ribeiro starts to grow into this match. And, you know, he's been good all year for sure. But I'm very picky with my star players, and I want them to show up in big moments. And he showed up in the semifinals. He showed up in the final of the CAF Champions League. He showed up again a lot today. If you go and look at the chances that Mamelodi Sundowns created, he was practically at the heart of all of them. Their first one is he's just, again, when they find those pockets of space and they make that entry pass, one thing that Zwane that did really well in Cairo in the second leg against Al Ahly is he would do those flicks, right? He would flick the ball here and there, and that shows the speed not just of your body, but also the speed of your mind, and the technique to pull off the flicks, of course. And Ribeiro does that. He pulls a dummy, not even a flick, a dummy. The ball comes to Reyners, and Reyners takes a shot, and it gets blocked. In the 30th minute, I put Sundown score, deserved lead. Again, Ribeiro hits in the corner kick. The ball does come off Iffy Reyners' arm, and it goes in. Fair enough. That is VAR did a good job over there. It should be a disallowed goal. In this 36th minute, though, Mamelodi Sundowns finally take a valid, deserved lead. And what a move it was. I think it must have been maybe 15 consecutive passes. 20 is probably too much. Just the ball going all around the pitch, and it finds its way to Ribeiro again in space. And I was sitting at a good vantage point high up in the stands where I could see Ribeiro on the ball, and I could see Mudau, the right back, streaking down the touchline. And so sometimes when I watch the game, I don't know if you guys do this too. If I'm really trying to focus, first of all, if I'm at home in front of the television, I'll put my face really close. But at the stadium, as if I'm a coach or something, I'm telling him, go to the right, hit Mudau. And sure enough, he doesn't. He sees a pass that I couldn't see even at that vantage point high up. He slips in Reyners, and Reyners with a beautiful finish. I mean, what a goal, what a move. Great finish. In the 39th minute, practically the same thing. Ribeiro to Reyners again. Reyners scores again, but it was slightly offside. Unlucky there. They should have been up 2-0, but it was a great finish by Reyners with the outside of his boot. So yeah, that was pretty much the story of the first half. Ulsan, they did trouble Sundowns a little bit again, just when Sundowns were sloppy. If they gave away cheap possession or if they weren't tracking back on a counterattack, those were the only times that Ulsan really troubled them. But other than that, we go into halftime with 62 to 35% possession, and the rest was possession that was contested. Um, but 62 to 35, that's pretty dominant. And 8 to 5 shots on goal. So ideally you concede less shots on goal, but I remember there were periods during the knockout stages of the CAF Champions League where Mamelodi Sundowns, I think, were averaging like 2 or 3 shots on goal per game. It was really bad at one point. So 8 is not bad at all for a first half, right? Uh, second half, second half, I didn't read too many notes. I thought when Ulsan pushed forward and tried to dispossess Mamelodi Sundowns and tried to show urgency, Sundowns did a great job of disarming them. So sometimes it was as simple as, okay, let them come to us. Ball goes to Ranwin, to Kekana, to Ranwin, to Mokoena, to Ranwin, to Cupido, back to Ranwin. And then Ranwin would, in the 53rd minute, for example, beautifully driven ball to Ikram Rainers, who lays the ball off, finds its way to Rivera, who gets a shot on goal. 10 minutes later, same thing. They undo the Ulsan, not from a press this time, but they just pick them apart. And this time it was Salas that was put through on goal from Ribeiro again. So we like Ribeiro. It's kind of like cliche. Like, it's not cliche. It's simplistic analysis to say he was good and he was all over the place, but he really was at the heart of almost every single attacking chance that Mamelodi Sundowns have. Um, the last thing I really want to talk about, because I think we're going around in circles a little bit, is Lebo Mutiba. Lebo Mutiba comes on in the 75th minute, and it makes an immediate impact with his physicality. Um, Immediately he wins headers. Like when Ulsan were pushing forward and trying to implement the high press, it was just as easy as playing a long ball to him. He's isolated with the central defender. I don't know if you guys could see on the broadcast, but the central defender was grabbing him, pulling him. It should have been a foul every day of the week, but Mutiba didn't even need it. He was holding him off with one arm, laying the ball off, spinning. He was a beast in the box. They couldn't get close to him. Mostly he was laying the ball off. One time he tried to get a shot off. It was blocked. He They're very lucky he didn't add a second goal. He did it in the 75th minute. He did it in the 87th minute. He did it in extra time as well. Um, and it makes me think, first of all, Lebo Mutiba's back, number one. But number two, and most importantly, it makes me think, like, I wish we talk about this a lot. We saw Rainers was really good holding up the ball. Oh, excuse me. Rainers was really good holding up the ball against Pyramids FC in the first leg in particular, but even in the second leg. Motiva, man, like, if that direct Route 1 football works, I just sometimes wish that Mamelodi Sundowns did it a little bit more. That's it. We saw it, like, in the last 15 minutes here. They created 3 goal-scoring opportunities from that. So I do wish they did it some more. But overall, it was a great day for South African football, for African football. The next match in Cincinnati, I'm told there will be more fans, maybe 400, 500 Sundowns fans. They're flying in from South Africa. So they need at least one more point, Mamelodi Sundowns. They did a great job picking up these 3 points, unlike Al Ahly against Inter Miami. But another win will obviously secure qualification, maybe even first place in the group. But at least one more point from Fluminense and Dortmund. It's not going to be easy, but I'm fairly confident that Sundowns can do it. So anyways, I'm gonna let you guys go because there's a lot of noise over here in the airport. Apologies for the audio quality. I hope it turns out okay. Um, and yeah, stay tuned for tomorrow. We're gonna have a preview for Wydad against Manchester City on the channel, and then of course we're also going to be I'm gonna finally edit some of those vlogs so you guys can put some of these visuals to what's going on here in the tournament. Anyways, thanks for tuning in. I'll speak to y'all very soon. Peace.